You guys impressed me. However, my unique opportunity is so great, it's so freaking awesome, that I'm really gonna need you both to work for it.
Anyway, everybody, we got a show today. We've got SmackDown, NXT, Ring of Honor, and Lucha Underground. Now, Lucha Underground airs on El Rey, and I don't get El Rey, but I do get Unimas, it's called, and that is a Spanish channel. And so if you watch Lucha Underground on El Rey, I believe you get the English language version of it. And if you watch it on Unimas, you get the Spanish version of it. And so the show we watched was virtually entirely in Spanish. And thankfully we had Whitney there, who knows way more Spanish than I do, and Vinny as well. And so she was able to translate some of the show, but largely, I have no idea what anyone was talking about. I have no idea what anybody said. We have a general idea of all of the story at the end.
I am a trooper.
All right, Lucha Underground, everybody, in Espanol.
First episode of Lucha Underground. It opened with, and in hindsight, this made no sense. There was like a movie fight scene.
Well, it probably would make sense if we understood Spanish, dude.
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure how they could tie this in with whatever else was going on in the show. There was a movie fight scene where one of the combatants had a lucha mask and was doing like arm drags and head scissors and stuff. And he beat up all the bad guys. Then they showed luchadors coming out of a cave and walking across a field. And they showed the evil promoter with money.
Yeah, you can't figure this out by just what you just described?
No.
There's a guy with money that is the promoter of Lucha Underground.
Right.
And fighters are coming from all over the world.
Caves?
Rings and caves.
There's a cave in Mexico that stores luchadors?
Sure. I don't fucking know, but that's what the story is.
Who was fighting the opening scene? We never saw any of them again.
I'm sure they'll be on the show later.
He fought, he helps rescue another man in a mask, and they sat down in a stairwell to talk, and they showed up repeatedly.
All you need to know is these were, if you've never seen this show, it is a very high production values. Mm-hmm. It is like an HBO series featuring Lucha Libre. And when I watched it, all I could conclude was, this is what TNA has been striving to do.
That's a good comparison,
but they've never been able to do it. And here Robert Rodriguez walks in with all of his slow motion, and he's done it. Because he's got a giant budget, apparently.
It reminded me also, in style but not quality, of all things, the Urban Wrestling Federation.
Kind of did, yeah.
Because there were wrestling matches that were really window dressing for the backstage segments, but unlike Urban Wrestling Federation and unlike TNA, the backstage segments were great.
No, we couldn't even understand what anybody was saying.
No, we'll get to that. So, we had a female ring announcer who, in English, welcomed us to Lucha Underground. Then Hugo Savinovich and Vampiro ran down the show in Spanish.
These guys. We gotta do 20 minutes on these two. Hugo Savinovich was every Lucha announcer you've ever heard.
Yeah.
He's talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour. He ain't breathing.
No.
He's just screaming repeatedly for 60 minutes. And Vampiro is next to him. And every now and then they would cut to the announcers. And every time they cut to the announcers, Hugo Savinovich is there looking like Jabba the Hutt, just shouting and screaming. And Vampiro always looks like he has something he wants to say, but it's impossible to get a word in edgewise.
Yes.
There was also a great moment. I don't know why they put it on television. Why don't you explain what they showed?
I'll try my best. They cut to the announcers. And as you noted, Hugo Savinovich was speaking 1 billion words a minute. He's very excited and speaking very quickly. And as he's leaning forward and intensely ranting, Vampiro is slacking back in his chair, looking off camera. And he makes eye contact with somebody, and they exchange some kind of gestures. Vampiro points to his eyes or then points forward or something. And suddenly Vampiro was leaning forward and watching the match with great intensity.
It was as if the man said, "You're about to be on screen." And so
Something.
Vampiro adjusted himself, but it had been a rib.
Yes.
They told him after he had been on screen.
Now keep in mind, this was not live. And
Oh, no.
in fact, nothing about this show really came off like a live program. I guess the main event did. But there was editing throughout. So it was very clear the show was a taped program. And they went... Not only did they not edit it out, they went through the trouble to make sure it was still in.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
Hugo was, he kind of drove me a little bit crazy, but based on reviews I've got of Matt Stryker doing English commentary, I think we got the better end of the bargain here.
I am convinced, with the exception of like Jim Ross in his prime, wrestling announcers are better if you can't understand them. I love the New Japan guys. I can't understand a goddamn word they say. I've seen a million Lucha shows with guys I don't understand a word of, and they're great. But when I hear WWE announcers or TNA announcers or most anything else, I get bored and pissed at them.
You want to know why?
Because they're stupid.
Because the Spanish announcers and the Japanese announcers, I guarantee, are calling the action.
Yeah.
And they're very excited about it.
Yeah.
And they're explaining what's going on. I watch Raw and everybody's yelling at each other or making jokes at their own expense.
Or bored.
Or they're
sounding
bored,
Yeah,
exactly.
you will never hear the New Japan guy sounding bored, and you sure as hell will never hear Hugo Savinovich sounding bored.
I don't think Hugo Savinovich has ever been bored in his life.
No. So, okay. So to recap the intro here, we got the ring announcer speaking in English, then the announcer speaking in Spanish, then the ring announcer bringing out the promoter in Spanish, then the promoter speaking in English and then Spanish.
Sure.
Pick a language and stick with it. That's all I'm asking. He had a briefcase full of money. He cut a promo that you and I did not understand, but your wife translated it as, "Tonight, wrestlers could get rich or die poor."
Great promo.
Those are the only options?
Dude, I like this guy. This Daniel Cueto, I hate, or Dario Cueto.
Dario Cueto, I believe.
Yeah, I'm sick of the heel owner gimmick, but this guy was good.
Yeah.
And you know who else was good? We're jumping ahead here. Conan is great. Now, I think that Conan has done a bunch of telenovelas, which are the Mexican soap operas. I'm pretty sure he has, so he has experience. But man, and you know that and I know this because I've been in his show, and all he wants to do is talk about shows I don't watch on TV, and then he yells at Dave and I for not watching like Game of Thrones or whatever. But you know this guy watches all of the shows, all of the hot shows on television. He keeps up with stuff. He studies them. And man, he is good. He's such a compelling... You cannot not watch him when he's on screen. I couldn't tell if he said boom. I wouldn't be surprised. But he was great on this show.
So the opening match was Blue Demon Jr. versus Chavo Guerrero Jr. This was very heavily edited with a million camera switches.
Fuck, it should have been edited off the show.
They still cannot make it look good. Apparently, I believe Dave said it was edited from 15 down to less than 5. I can only imagine how bad those other 10 minutes were. The audio quality was atrocious, and I don't normally notice this kind of thing. But this, I believe, was two men shouting inside a metal tool shed and being recorded on a tape deck.
No.
The good news is the fans were awesome. These fans were in everything on this show. They ruled. They did a very slow, very scary top rope powerbomb. And then Blue Demon won with something kind of like a Scorpion Deathlock. So far, no good, I wrote.
I can figure out how they had all of this money and they couldn't get a referee without a broken arm. Referee raises the arm of Blue Demon afterwards. He's got a giant cast on his arm. What was that all about? And they also had way too many camera cuts. Made this match even worse, which is hard to believe.
Yeah.
Given how bad it was.
We had our first great backstage segment. I don't know what the fuck was going on, but the evil promoter guy was on one side of the desk, and Conan was on the other side of the desk, and they had a conversation. There was cursing involved, and I believe there was something about money. Whitney said they were talking something about money and work. I don't know what the fuck was going on here, but the evil promoter guy is an actual actor.
Oh, yeah.
And this was shot nothing at all like a wrestling skit. There was no attempt to make this I don't even know how to put it. There was no attempt to pretend that this was shot at the arena, or that these guys did not know, or that these guys were actual, wrestlers who were mysteriously unaware of the cameras there. There were cameras all over the place. They cut back and forth. There was scary music playing. And all this stuff should sound like we would hate it. But here's the thing. It was really, really good. And this is where I learned, and this is your TNA comparison is great. TNA has been for 10 years now trying to do backstage segments where like the camera's hidden so it makes sense. And these guys, I guess they went the other direction, but I'm struggling.
Let me explain it to you, because I can explain exactly.
Save me.
All right, here's the deal. And if anybody in TNA is listening, I hope this makes sense. This is a television show. This is a telenovela about professional wrestling. TNA, the problem with TNA when they try this stuff is that TNA tries to be half wrestling show and half telenovela. That is a recipe for utter failure. That's why it doesn't work. Because half the time you're watching what is pushed as a sporting event on television, and then all of a sudden they go backstage for something that is so completely different. It's so jarring to go from a professional wrestling show to a telenovela. Whereas this show is a telenovela from start to finish. There is no jump from... I mean, even the wrestling matches are shot like you're watching a show on HBO. The whole thing is... It is consistent from start to finish. There is an internal consistency to the entire show.
Yes.
It is one giant soap opera, to use the English term. It is a giant soap opera about wrestling, and it's all shot the exact same way. Whereas TNA, this half and half thing, is never going to work. It's why when you watch a WWE show and all of a sudden you see something backstage with Kane and like creepy music is playing, it never works. It always fails. It's always stupid because it's too jarring. When the show starts, your brain clicks into whatever the show is. If you're watching Game of Thrones, your brain, when the show begins, gets into the mode of what you're watching. If you're watching a movie, it's the same way. If you're watching football, it's the same way. Like, can you imagine, Vinny, watching a football game and they cut backstage to, I don't know, a team meeting or something, and it's shot like an HBO, you know what I mean? It would be goofy.
I can answer that, Brian. They tried something like that. It was called the XFL. It failed.
It failed miserably.
It failed badly.
So you can't go halfway. You either got to go all the way one way or you've got to go all the way the other way. And if you try and go half and half like TNA does, that's why it doesn't work.
We had a Prince Puma profile video. He was in the ring doing all kinds of stuff. As Conan said it, he was the descendant of Aztec warriors. Somewhere in here, he actually mentioned in English Game of Thrones. I think that's what he's going to watch when the show is done. Son of Havoc versus Sexy Star. Son of Havoc was Matt Cross and his beard and a mask. And Sexy Star was a hot girl in a mask. We had a Sexy Star profile video. And it showed her, working out in an empty gym and doing all kinds of cool stuff. And then it closed with her saying in English, "Every woman is sexy. Every woman is a star. And she was going to fight for them and she would never be afraid again." Well, this is kind of creepy and uncomfortable. Then, I'll cut to the end. She came out here to prove that women did not be afraid of being beaten up by men. She got beat up by a man and lost.
Yeah.
I'm confused.
A lot of people really didn't like this. And one of my buddies at the jiu-jitsu school doesn't watch any wrestling, but he's Hispanic. And he knows, obviously, that I write about wrestling. And so he came up to me and he said, "Oh, dude, I watched that Lucha Underground." And I was like, "Yeah, what'd you think about it?" He goes, "It's kind of cool. But man, that man versus woman match." I was like, wow. This guy ain't even a wrestling fan, and that's the one thing that he mentioned first and foremost was he really didn't like the man versus woman match. And I don't know, it just kind of seemed like a man versus woman match. I guess, I don't know. I didn't think
it's
it was...
not the match itself was that bad. It's that it's just skeevy. Even
I've seen it done a lot worse. Let's just put it that way.
yeah, I guess.
I don't think they need to do it.
No.
It's pointless.
Don't. When I watch my wacky, fun, entertaining show, I don't need to even think about domestic violence. That's all.
Maybe that's the thing. I didn't see this as domestic violence. I just saw it as it reminded me of like when you see a match in Japan, like an MMA fight that just shouldn't be made.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like you don't see it as an assault, but it's like who in their right mind put this together?
I wouldn't have thought that except for the profile video.
Well, yeah.
She seemed to be emphasizing that. So anyway, they do the video, and then Son of Havoc cuts a promo. I don't know if I haven't heard Matt Cross talk in a long time. Not since Tough Enough, I think. But either he has
maybe he went through puberty.
either gone through puberty, either he's had voice box surgery, or they dubbed in his voice or edited it electronically, but he has had a lot of bass in his voice. He said he was not going to wrestle the woman. He told Sexy Star to take her count-out loss, and she teased doing so. Then she attacked him from behind, and they did cool lucha stuff for a minute or two, and then he hit a backbreaker and he pinned her. I don't understand this.
Yeah.
Dario Cuerto, the evil promoter, met with Chavo Guerrero in the locker room. This one was the best one. Chavo lost in his big debut here. He's let down his whole family. And he's sitting in front of his locker sweaty and
Not
depressed.
just his whole family, the legendary Guerrero clan.
Yes.
That's even worse.
Yes. And he's sitting in front of his locker sweating and depressed. And Dario's speaking, and the camera is shot, so Chavo is in the foreground, just slightly out of focus, and then Dario's in the background, very clear. And again, I couldn't understand a word, but just from the tone of this, the music, and the voice inflections, I got the message that you have let your family down. I'm very disappointed in you. You need to pick up your game, or you're going to be in big trouble, or you need to join me, or you'll be in big trouble. Either way, it works. It's quite great. And the main event was Johnny Mundo, also known as John Morrison, versus Prince Puma, also known as Ricochet in a Mask. Here was where they did the bit with Vampiro, where he was zoning out and then suddenly started paying attention to the match. And every time they come back to him, he started doing more weird stuff. So they had if you like back and forth action, this was the match for you. They did 100 spots and they all looked awesome. This match was killer. And I'm watching this, and I didn't know the results, but I imagined it's Lucha Underground. They're marketing to a Hispanic audience. I'm guessing the guy with the Aztec Warrior gimmick is going to beat the white dude. And as I'm watching this, I'm thinking, John Morrison looks really, really, really good here. Like, not missing a beat since he left WWE, but probably better than most of his WWE appearances. He looked like the kind of guy you could have be your top star in a major national promotion. And then he hit the Starship Pain and he won.
That's right.
So I guess he is, in fact, going to be the top star in a major national promotion. So, the finish was he worked him over for a bit. He hit the Moonlight Drive, but Puma kicked out of that. And so Johnny cut him off with the standing Spanish Fly and then Starship Pain and won. And afterwards, he congratulated Puma, and they celebrated together. True sportsman. Dario Cuerto came out to meet with him. He showed them the briefcase full of money. I believe he said, "You're not going to get this," and Morrison went after him. But then two guys, I don't know who they were, hit the ring and laid out the baby faces. And then out came Ezekiel Jackson.
Ricklin.
Is that his name now?
Well, it was his name in TNA, remember?
Ricklin.
But he was there briefly.
Like a show and a half.
Yeah.
So he started clubbering the good guys, and yes, he hit an arm slam. He laid out Johnny Mundo. And then Cuerto said the temple is not just for luchadors. He had been scouting for the best fighters in the world, and these men worked for him. And that was the cap of the show. That was a very, very fun show.
It really was. No disrespect to Prince Puma or anything like that, but there was something about Johnny Mundo. He had a polish about him that they were both great.
Not just a polish, a poise.
Yes.
He carried himself. Forget about
this guy knew how to be a main eventer on
Yes.
a television show.
Yes, he carried himself like he was the man.
Yeah, this was a very good match. I first off, I was shocked that they beat Prince Puma, but hey, Johnny Mundo looked great. I was shocked that they gave this match away already. This was like a match that you build for a long time and make it a big event. But hey,
kind of.
Put it here on the first show.
I do see your point there, but I also think in your very, very first show, if you can make that a home run, that's a big deal.
Well, there is that as well. I do need to start learning Spanish. I think I'll start tomorrow because I couldn't figure out what the hell was going on here. I did take 2 years of Spanish. I think I've told this story before. I took 2 years of Spanish in high school, and like the first year, I did great. Got like straight A's because I'm Mexican. The second year...
Did you get extra credit for that?
The second year, I showed up for Spanish class, and there was a lady there, and she said, your teacher, your Spanish teacher, the person who's supposed to be teaching this class, he's very ill. He's in the hospital. So we're hoping for the best. And it's like, oh, man. So, like, a week goes by, and then, like, in the middle of week 2, she shows up and he was dead.
Well, that's awful.
And she goes, so I'm going to be teaching the class now. And I've never spoken Spanish. This is year 2, by the way.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a French teacher. But I'm fluent in French. I know how to learn languages. And so we're going to learn Spanish together. So as you could probably imagine, we didn't learn Spanish together very well there in second year Spanish at Bothell High School. So I have very limited Spanish. I can understand a little, but not a lot. But from watching this show, and my wife has been, Whitney's taken lessons through Rosetta Stone, and she's carrying on full conversations with my dad already. She just started like a few months ago. So I've been motivated to try to learn Spanish before Lucha Underground goes off the air forever. Mm-hmm. So it's another race against time. Like, who were we talking about earlier? Somebody else had
Adam
a race
Rose.
against time. Adam Rose, yeah.
I was never a great student in school, but I was always a fast learner. So I'd always ace the tests and get bad grades in the projects because that required actual work. Until I got to Spanish. And my brain was just not wired to learn Spanish. And I was failing that class badly at midterms. And I had to struggle and struggle and struggle and bust my ass to get a passing grade. And when I finished that quarter with a D, I was more proud of that D than any of the B's or C's or A's I ever got.
Wow.
I worked for that D. I earned that D.
How about that?
Yeah.
Well, there you go.
That's my way of saying don't expect me to learn Spanish anytime soon.
All right, before we go here today, I went to Home Depot yesterday because I was going to, I was thinking of getting curtains for that window right there. Thought it might
That one?
help the acoustics a little bit. And if you'd only seen what I bought and installed there, you'll note it's not there anymore. I took it back. It was horrific. But the point of this is, when I was at Home Depot, they have already got Christmas decorations up. So what the hell?
I will. Okay, if you want to, go ahead.
I was just going to celebrate with a song.
Then they interviewed AJ, who I believe referred to Sting as Stink.
So when we had Kermit as a guest host on the show.
Stink, you're wrong. Stink, you're wrong. Stink, you're wrong. That's what he said.
Don't blame me. I hate this show. I just have lost it. Stink was wrong. Stink was wrong. Stink was wrong. And why was he wrong? Because he saved Kurt Angle's life when AJ was trying to kill it.
Yeah.
That is why Stink was wrong. Stink was wrong is funny. But it's also funny because... This show's so fucking stupid.
A classic. Stink, you're wrong.
Yeah. We did find
warned you.
We did find the English version this week.
Yes, we did.
It was funny because they aired, some last week's footage, and it was the exact same people doing the exact same stuff, only now they were speaking English. Like magic.
I gotta say, we talked a lot about the commentary last week, and we were comparing it to Matt Stryker, who, by the way, I had not heard yet at the time. He was not too bad on this show.
There's a specific line we'll get to, but by and large, his style fits so much better on this show.
Yeah.
Because it's, I don't want to say fake, but this show makes no attempt to be a live sporting event.
No, it's
more melodramatic.
It's a television show. It's
Yes.
a telenovela.
Yes, and his melodramaticness, for lack of a good word, fits in well with the style of the show.
Now, I will say, the real star of commentary was Vampiro. He had so many funny lines. And it's just Vampiro, you know what I mean? Like, if you've ever interviewed Vampiro, it's just Vampiro. And that's exactly what he was on the show, and it was a lot of fun.
Vampiro looks far more terrifying now than
With
he
no
did.
hair?
Yes.
Yeah.
And his like neck tat. It looks like he's wearing a turtleneck. He looks like Freddy Krueger without a hat. Because apparently, I think everybody looks like somebody. That's who Vampiro looks like.
So, last week we compared the show in some ways to Urban Wrestling Federation. It opened this episode with the heels coming out and saying they were here, I'm not making this up, to get that money.
That's right. It actually tuned in exactly where it tuned out last week. They were still in the ring,
I guess so, yeah.
talking about how they were going to get that money.
So their names are Cortez Castro, Cisco, and Big Rick. And Johnny Mundo hit the ring. He laid them out. Big Rick escaped a beating by just leaving. And then Prince Puma came out to stand by Mundo, and Dario Cuerto appeared, and he booked the tag match.
It's Cueto, by the way. There's no R.
There's no R?
No.
Motherfucker. All right. Johnny Mundo and Prince Puma versus Cortez Castro and Cisco. I like that the announcers are going off for like a 4-minute, not a rant, but a lecture on the history of Lucha Libre and its tradition among the Mexican people. Meanwhile, the match in the ring resembles Lucha in no way whatsoever.
There was a little bit of diving and
There was an arm drag or two.
some spinning, you know.
Yeah. So, it was a fun tag match. They double-teamed Puma for a while. Mundo recovered, made the save. They're doing 800 near falls. And then Matt Striker referenced the Beyonder. The Beyonder
Mike
was...
has no idea what you're talking about.
No.
I have no idea
Dude.
what you're talking about. I don't think
Please.
any of the 8,000 viewers had any idea what he was talking about.
Well, most of them won't anyway, but even among comic book nerds, the Beyonder has not been relevant in Mike's lifetime.
That's right.
The Beyonder, the last time he was relevant, no one in the Shield had been born yet. This was obscure. So the babyfaces won with stereo 450s. This was a good match that I thought would have been better if they had done less stuff.
You know what's funny is I really, really like this match. And I had more fun watching this match than I did watching the singles main event last week.
Really?
Maybe I'm the only guy in the world, but I thought it was great. Vampiro's sitting there talking about how there's no rules, he said, as men are tagging in and out. Literally right in front of him is he's telling me there's no rules. And then Stryker, throughout the show, they're talking about how these guys are all tough. They're all from the hood, the barrio, etc. And Stryker's talking about, Vamp, I know you've been in a couple of bar fights in your time. And Vampiro calmly goes, I've never been in a bar fight because I'm not an aggressor. Now, it's the exact opposite of what most wrestlers would do, which is say, I've been in plenty of bar fights. We kicked a bunch of ass. I find it very hard to believe that in his entire career in Mexico, that Vampiro has never been in a bar fight or jumped in a bar or attacked in any way.
I remember
Impossible.
when Ready to Rumble came out for WCW, they had a big Hollywood premiere. And when they had the wrestlers on the red carpet, Vampiro's line, which has stuck with me for almost 20 years now, was to point down the street and say, I used to sleep on that corner over there.
Yes,
I'm guessing the guy who sleeps in the corner in Hollywood has been in a bar fight or two.
probably. What'd you think of this, Mike?
I thought it was a fantastic match. I'm just such a positive person today.
That's great. That's what we need on this show. We need a counterbalance for Vinny.
How dare you?
That's what I'm trying to be. I miss John
I
Morrison
hope you're
so
heavy
much.
then.
Yeah, it's true. I miss John Morrison. I wish he was back in WWE, but to see him here with Ricochet is just the two of them just flying around is great. And I think I had kind of low expectations because I didn't know anything about the other two guys, and they didn't look like they would.
I
be
still
able
don't,
to,
honestly.
well, but they didn't look like they'd be able to keep up so much. And I think it was smooth. Like there was nobody was out of place ever.
Yeah.
It was just a great fun match.
Totally
Well,
agree.
one of them is named after a guy, and the other is named after a cooking oil.
That's Crisco.
Oh, god damn it.
Cisco's the rapper who did Thong Song.
Oh, man.
Yes.
No, but I really think that Johnny Nitro or John Morrison and Prince Puma are a great team. And unfortunately, Mike, I don't think you're going to see John Morrison anytime soon based on the contracts that these guys had to sign for Lucha Underground.
Yeah, he also said, I think it was on Jericho's podcast, that he could have gone back, but he's doing a bunch of like low-budget movies that he's just having fun being like
Sure.
an action star. So he wants the freedom to do what he wants, so
Well,
he's
he's
happy.
going to get it
Freedom
here.
is important.
Yeah.
Conan had a meeting with Puma in the locker room. Conan was so awesome here.
Conan is fucking great.
This was
And he
fantastic.
needs to never lose that cane.
No. So as we mentioned, these are shot. They make no attempt to pretend this is not a TV show. It comes. There's music playing, 1,000 cameras everywhere. It comes off more like Law and Order or something than wrestling, but it's great. And Conan is awesome in his role. Says, look, you need to stay away from Johnny Mundo. His fight ain't your fight. He's not your friend. I'm your only friend.
Yeah.
He walked away.
Dude, I mentioned this last week. The reason this is so great is because it's a television show from beginning to end. It's not half a wrestling show and half a drama. It's not half a wrestling show and half some weird backstage voyeuristic goofy thing that we see in TNA every now and then. It's a television show. Every time there's a commercial, they come back from commercial and we get an aerial view of the city. It may even be filmed in like 30 frames per, or 24 frames per second or something. I don't even know because I was watching a low-quality version, but it is shot like a television show from beginning to end. You never get taken out of the I don't even know what you would call it. You're never taken out of the moment for 1 second when you watch this show. That's why it's great. It's so different from everything else, and it's awesome.
Yeah, the whole show, there's just this energy going through the entire thing. Like, the crowd just is never quiet. There's always music of some sort playing, and then the backstage, vignettes look like little movies. You're right. So it's just a lot of fun. That word keeps getting used, but yeah.
I love this show.
Yep.
We had a Mil Muertes profile video, which really wasn't much of a profile video. It was just saying that every man dies, and this guy's name is 1,000 Deaths, and he's coming, and then he popped out and he was scary.
How has there never been a Mil Muertes in wrestling before? Maybe there has been, but I'm unaware of
There's
it.
been a lot of luchadors on a lot of shows somewhere.
That's Abyss's brother,
Oh,
Judas Macias,
there you go.
Jim Mitchell's son.
He's gotten even huger.
Oh, he's gigantic.
Jesus. He's wearing a mask, but I still didn't recognize him. Son of Havoc and Evilise versus Chavo Guerrero and Sexy Star.
I love when the ring announcer goes, "The following lucha is scheduled for one fall."
I liked it better. I didn't write it down, and I should have. But they were explaining
The girls lucha each other.
So it was like he said that the men wrestle the men and the girls lucha the lucha. Something like that.
It's very well. I mean, technically, that is correct. This was a lucha.
A fight?
A fight. Yeah. The following lucha.
So this is shorter than the opener, but a pretty basic old school tag match. And Chavo at the end ran wild. He hit Havoc with a frog splash. Then he turned around and tagged Sexy Star in so she could pin him with a roll up. And Stryker dubbed this chivalry.
It's Chavalry.
That's much better.
I thought Evilise was awesome, which we've talked about before. And this was the first time that I noticed that the temple set looks exactly like the setup of the Kumite in Bloodsport. Am I the only one?
I would have to go watch that
Mike,
again.
I'm sure, has never seen Blood. Have you seen Bloodsport, Mike?
I grew up on Bloodsport.
How have you grown up on it? You're 24.
26.
26.
Well, there's an exchange rate.
I
I
guess
watched it on VHS at my dad's all the time growing up.
My God.
Just always getting freaked out when the guy's bone pops out his leg.
That's true. Did this not look like the Kumite setup here?
I mean, it's been many, many, many years because I've never seen it post VHS. But yes,
it may not exist post VHS.
Oh, I'm sure it does. Yeah. There's one part where Sexy Star she threw a super kick, and that just sounds silly to say Sexy Star threw a super kick, but she threw one to Son of Havoc, and it missed him and hit him in the arm, and he sold the arm, which is exactly what you should do. So it's the little things that kind of keep you in the match. So I liked that.
Can't they give her Shawn Michaels music and she'll come out and say she's a sexy star?
Sexy Star.
And use the super kick?
It's genius. And Chavo can still go. He's just too generic to ever be anything really special, but he can still move.
He's not bad.
Yeah.
I just realized you can rearrange the letters in Chavo to spell Havoc.
Wow.
This should be a tag team. The anagrams.
I can't believe I laughed at that. You got me.
Blue Demon Jr. was warming up backstage when an anonymous hot babe was walking the hallways.
That's Maxine.
Oh, from NXT?
EC3's former girl.
EC3?
God, the tie-ins everywhere.
You've completely lost me.
Remember Maxine and what was his name in NXT?
Bateman?
Bateman, yeah. Maxine and Bateman were a duo for a while.
I don't even remember them being on screen together. Anyway, she taps Demon on the shoulder. He turns around and she's gone. But then she appears right in front of him. And this is exactly the same stuff that Bray Wyatt did with Dean Ambrose on SmackDown. Only there it sucked and here it was cool.
Well, I got to say that Katrina is much more attractive than Bray Wyatt.
In every possible way. So she said she had a message from Mil Muertes. Then she licked his face. He stared intently as
It's
she
an
left.
intimidating message from another dude in a mask.
I suppose so.
I think you'd rather get it from her, though, so,
Sure.
yeah, if you have to.
The air the Prince Puma profile video. I believe this is the exact same one they aired last week, but in English.
Let me say something about this video. Conan nonchalantly mentioned that Prince Puma had been recommended to him by, quote, a friend you all might know.
Yes.
And then he moved on.
Yes.
Now, if this were WWE, this is why I like this show. And maybe I will be ruined down the road. But it seems to me that when they mention something on this show, if you pay attention, it's going to pay off later down the road. And I firmly believe that later on down the road, I'm going to find out who Conan was talking about.
Yes.
If somebody mentioned this in a WWE promo, guaranteed there would be no follow-up in 80% of the cases. But I paid attention here, and I heard that line, and now I'm waiting.
So the story here was exactly what I got out of this last week when he was speaking Spanish. I couldn't understand his language. He's a descendant from Aztec warriors. Conan has brought him here to Lucha Underground to kill everyone.
Now, I don't know if they know who it's going to be yet, because maybe it's going to be Ray. Maybe
That's their hope.
Maybe it'll be Del Rio. Maybe if they can get Ray, it'll be Ray, and if not, it'll be Del Rio. But Del Rio is coming, apparently, to Lucha Underground, so.
Blue Demon Jr. versus Mil Muertes. So Mil comes out. He's got Katrina in her strapless dress, which is a wondrous sight to behold. He hails from beyond the grave. He is huge.
He doesn't even hail from the grave.
No, beyond the grave.
He's beyond the grave.
Yes. Like, here's the grave. He's over there.
Great, intimidating music, an awesome
Evil,
costume.
ominous. If you like Rusev's theme, this is dark and foreboding.
And whatever happened to the day where, like, if you were a bad guy, you had a scary theme. If you were an action-filled guy, you had some rock music. If you were Bailey, you had her song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is it that hard? Like, you watch TNA and it's like, what the fuck do any of these songs have to do with anybody?
Yeah. So Stryker said that Katrina, quote, filled the screen with some kind of dark seduction.
That's what he said.
And this is an example of something that on SmackDown would have had me turning the channel in rage. On this show, it fits. He's perfect for this show.
Mil Muertes also has something special that he makes her hold. And we don't know what it
A
is,
scarf or something?
but I'll bet we find out someday.
Yeah, there's some kind of object that she has. So,
Yeah, they made it sound like it was some big deal that she was bestowed, or it was bestowed upon her, like he was trusting her to hold it.
That's right. He trusts her, but nobody else.
yes.
Yes.
So now knowing this is Judas Messias, this actually makes a lot more sense. I had no idea who this guy was, but he had a perfectly fine match with Blue Demon. They worked very well together. They fit in. They meshed perfectly. And
I loved when he's beating on Demon and Vampiro goes, please, hit him some more. Story there I didn't know about.
I'm sure there is. So Muertes got the win with a spear and a downward spiral.
I'm not the biggest Blue Demon fan in the world, but man, I mean, that guy is like he's kind of a legend in Lucha Libre. And boy, they just beat him clean in the middle.
Yep.
Yeah, with a downward spiral of all things. If I never see that finisher again, I'll be very happy. He needs
Well,
like a big impact.
Your happiness
finisher,
is
like
about to end, my friend.
He needs like a big power bomb. You know what I mean? Just looking at him, just a downward spiral just doesn't really do it.
Well, it's possible he'll use a finish like that, but he sure as shit wasn't doing that on Blue Demon Jr.
That's true.
Yeah. Oh, it's okay. That's fair enough.
So he beat him up after the match until Chavo ran out with a chair to make the save. And then Chavo turned around and started waffling Demon with the chair. A couple of geeks ran out, and Chavo hit them with a chair. And then Sexy Star came out to stop him, and yes, he hit her with a chair.
Well, I could have done without that.
I didn't need to see that.
You know what I will say about the chair shots, though? Everybody was talking about the chair shots, and, I mean, while there were chair shots to the head, it looked like every single person blocked them. Maybe not that first one to Blue Demon Jr., but, you know, if you're going to swing a chair at somebody's head, I mean, it is their... If the agreement is that they're going to put their hand up, if you swing the chair and they don't put the hand up because that's just the way they came up in wrestling, it sucks. I mean, if I were in charge, I wouldn't book chair shots to the head, but there is a way to safely do it. You can put your hand up. You can not actually get hit in the head.
Yes.
But you're running the risk when you swing a chair at an older guy because they came up in an era where you don't put your fucking hand up. Or, well, some of them do. You know, a lot of them would put their hand up anyway, but most of these chair shots, the guys got their hands up, it looked like to me, but I would just kind of like not do it. You know what I mean? It just seems out of place in 2014.
And the way they shot them made it look like, to your point, that probably there wasn't much contact. But that chair shot to Sexy Star, that was... I mean, it looked great, but again, did not need to see that.
The other problem is these are luchadors, where they come from Mexico, where, like, you take your chair shots to the head. You know what I mean? So you come to America and you tell them, okay, put your hands up, everything like that. I mean, there's no guarantee they're going to do it. That's why your best bet is to just say, no chair shots to the head, just hit everybody in the back. But anyway, I really like this show. I think this show is great. Again, it's only 1 hour long. The matches I thought were good. The storylines are good. The backstage vignettes are good. Everything on the show was good. There was never a dull moment, I don't think. I can't remember one.
Nope.
I really like Lucha Underground. I give it 2 thumbs up.
Yeah, I didn't watch it like the first one last week, but so I kind of went into this one cold. But it reminded me of one of the early Nitros. Just you never know what you're going to get, and I was very pleasantly surprised because this was just a lot of fun from start to finish.
And no Mongo.
Oh well, you got Matt Stryker, so
he's much better than Mongo.
I know.
Well, anything else, Vinny?
I'm good.
All right, let's just jump right into Lucha Underground. I'll save my last song for last after the debacle that was the previous attempt.
Conan and Dario Cueto had a meeting. Conan was bragging about all the Mexicans he was bringing in. And Cueto said, well, let's book them in a 3-way and see who's best. Conan said, cool.
These two blow away everybody in pro wrestling.
Yep.
Everybody. It is amazing how awesome they are. And like... Dario is a real he's a real actor. Conan is not. I mean, I guess he is now. I'd classify him as one. But goddamn, he's good.
So then Cueto hit the ring for a promo. He said people were whining that there was not enough lucha in Lucha Underground, so he had lucha for them. He introduced a new luchador, El Mariachi Loco.
Yeah. Found him at a local bar.
Yep. He explained this man plays a great trumpet and he is crazy in the ring. This is the best gimmick I ever heard of. Said if he wins his match, he might play a song for the people.
I missed that part.
Absolute total genius, this gimmick.
Damn it.
So his opponent
This
here...
has got to be a season-long storyline. They keep teasing he's going to win and play a song, and he never wins. And
Yes.
at the end, he starts turning babyface because you want it so badly.
I guess there and play a goddamn song just once.
And then what happens at the end of the season is he wins, and a full 25-man mariachi band enters the building, and they play us out. Cliffhanger.
He should unmask. I don't know if there's like a famous great mariachi singer or trumpeter, but unmask as that guy.
Nah, it wouldn't work.
Yeah.
I don't know any.
I don't either. So he wrestled this mariachi loco fella, Mascarita Sagrada.
Yeah. 49 years old.
Still pretty amazing. Still pretty amazing. Mariachi Loco was not a mini, and somehow Mascarita doing all his lucha spots to a full-grown man made it actually better. So I like Matt Stryker and Vampiro have amazing chemistry. Matt Stryker is in full Matt Stryker mode, asking questions about basic Spanish when he says, the ITA at the end of Mascarita Sagrada's name, is that to indicate that he is a smaller version of the real Mascarita Sagrada? And Vamp's response in this exact tone, in these exact words is, yeah, probably. I laughed so hard.
Vampiro, I just love these guys together. It's an amazing commentary team. Vampiro is so Vampiro.
Yes.
I have no better way to describe him.
There's no one else like him.
You interview him, you listen to him on commentary. I'm sure you talk to him in real life.
You watch him wrestle.
This is just Vampiro.
Yes.
I remember years ago we asked him, what the fuck are the rules of Lucha Libre? He goes, I don't know. I still don't know. And I bet he doesn't.
I'm sure he doesn't. And I'm sure to this day he doesn't. So, Mariachi actually got the heat for a while, and then Sagrada ran wild with more arm drags and head scissors. And then finally he won with a small package.
A really small
The
package.
smallest package you ever saw.
Yeah.
Oh, that's great. So Chavo Guerrero ran out, kicked the little fella right in the head,
Oh, my God. He just booted him right in the chops, this 49-year-old man.
and he beat him up for a while. And all I could think was, this is aggression built up over years of being humiliated by Hornswoggle.
It probably was. Maybe he thought it was Hornswoggle.
He was wearing a mask. Who could
He
tell?
doesn't know, and this Sagrada has gotten heavier. Although not
You know what I
nearly
was going to say? I've seen Hornswoggle work.
He is-
This is not Hornswoggle.
No. And by the way, the Chavo gimmick, if you haven't noticed, he's a heel. He is beating women and minis.
Yes.
That's how you get a guy over as a heel.
I guess so. So Vampiro and Chavo did a sit-down interview. Vamp, to his credit, asked some hard questions.
Vamp was the greatest interviewer. I mean, I got to watch this to learn how to be a better interviewer.
Yes.
He just asked the straight-up questions.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead.
He asked Chavo, is it true you built your entire career about riding your family's coattails? Chavo said he was proud of what his family had done, but he was tired of following in their footsteps. He was now doing things his way. He said, well, what about what you did to the legend Blue Demon Jr.? Chavo buried Jr. deep beneath the earth, said he is a shell of his former self, and in his prime, he still sucked. He's only a legend because of what his father had done. He added, by the way, you saw the match. He buried this guy.
This was a shoot.
Yeah.
And the irony of him saying that Blue Demon was only a legend because of his father.
Well, that made it even better.
Yes.
That made it absolutely better. And he said Dario Cueto wanted violence. He promised to supply that violence. And Vampiro says, man, you got some issues. Okay,
Bro,
thank you.
Bro, you've got some issues.
Yes.
I got to save that one.
And then he wrapped things up. A brilliant segment this was.
Bro, you've got some issues. That was his conclusion. And he was right.
He's very right.
This guy calls it like he sees it.
Chavo met with Conan backstage. They were all buddy-buddy. But Conan warned Chavo, people in Mexico, they know what you did to Blue Demon, and they're going to learn what you did to Sagrada. For your own sake, you'd better disappear. And on that note, Conan left, and there was Mil Muertes there to scare the crap out of Chavo. And Mil left, and Katrina was there. She warned Chavo that one day he would belong to Muertes. Chavo was not sure what to make of any of this. This was also excellent.
I didn't know what to make of it either, which also made it excellent.
Yeah.
Chavo is he's messed with the wrong Mexicans, including the top heel. He's a heel, but now the top heel is out to get him because he fucked with the wrong Mexicans.
All of them, apparently.
Makes sense.
Yes. So, Mil Muertes versus Ricky Mandel. We got a hype video explaining the Mil Muertes gimmick. It's pretty morbid. In 1985, you see, a great earthquake struck Mexico City. This is a real event, a real tragedy. And looking it up, they're not sure how many people died, but conservative estimates put it at about 10,000 people.
Yeah.
So this is an odd thing to bring up here in this wacky, entertaining pro wrestling show. But they did. And they explained that Mil was 7 years old when the earthquake hit. His entire family was wiped out, and he, as a 7-year-old boy, was trapped amongst the rubble. But he was not distressed. He was not traumatized by this. He found comfort there amidst the death. And they explained that the rock that he's been carrying around that Katrina's holding for him was actually a piece of the rubble that he carries with him to this day.
I see.
This is unsettling.
Well, that's the idea.
I guess it is,
obviously.
yes. So he squashed Ricky Mandel and pinned him with a downward spiral.
Vampiro was just LOLing at the beating that young Ricky Mandel was taking at the hands of Mil Muertes here. And the people love Mil because he's a big, strong killer.
His gimmick is, in fact, that he kills people.
Yeah.
Stryker references he's about to just finish. Mandel's life is flashing before his eyes because he's about to die.
Well, this is serious business.
It is. Johnny Mundo was walking the hallways shirtless when he wanted to talk to Cueto, and Cisco and that one other dude were trying to stop him, but Johnny kicked their ass for a long time and went in the office. This involved throwing a lot of punches, and punches are not what Johnny Mundo does best. So Cueto was scared because Mundo had beat up his security goons. Cueto said, "Relax, I'm just here because I want a match with Big Rick. And if you want violence, give me a match with Big Rick, I'll give you violence." Cueto said, "Fine." And Mundo said, "Good. And then when I'm done with Big Rick, you're next."
Oh, man, never say that to the guy. Now you're in trouble. You know, it's funny that John Morrison is living in L.A., and he's been trying to do all of these low-budget movies, and he's been, I'm sure, taking plenty of acting classes. He was the one guy on the show in his acting segments. It was like, this is straight out of a really terrible martial arts movie. I mean, Conan completely blew him away.
That's true. Chavo blew him away.
Very over the top, this
Just
performance.
Even without speaking, Chavo blew him away. I actually spoke in the sit-down promo, but I'm in the bit with Mil Muertes. So anyway, yeah, that was that. Then after the break, we had a different segment with Cueto talking to himself in his office, and honestly, I don't know what the point of this was. Had a Prince Puma profile video about how the mask has been passed down through generations.
I like these profile videos.
I like that they do a lot of them.
Short, to the point, tell you the stories, do the recaps. You know what else I noticed, and I really noticed it in the main event? I've mentioned this every single time we do this review, but it's important here as well. This is not a wrestling show where they put in goofy vignettes. This is a telenovela from start to finish. And as part of that, when they do matches, no matter how crazy a high spot is, they never show a replay. Because this isn't a wrestling show. It wouldn't work in the context of this show. It's a television show. It's not a sport. So you'll never see a replay. Because if they showed a replay in the middle of this television show, it would completely take you out of the action.
I'm trying to think of a film equivalent. Like when Indiana Jones in Raiders of the Lost Ark, when he shoots a guy with a sword, there was no replay.
No. All of a sudden, in the middle of the movie, all of a sudden it stops and you see a slow motion of what you had just seen. It never happens.
Not in good movies. I've seen it in bad movies, actually, but that's why they're bad movies. Main event was Drago versus Pentagon Jr. versus Phoenix.
I think this may have been the most fun match I watched in a week of fun matches. Holy shit, this match.
As I wrote, they did all kinds of cool shit.
Yeah. Place was going crazy for this match.
Matt Stryker, he is, and I say this as praise, he is the biggest mark in the world.
Oh, yeah. I think he used those exact words when he was on the show last week.
Yeah, and he, at one point in this match, just jumped to his feet and started pumping his fist with glee.
Yeah, they've got a camera that's always on the announcers, and I think the gimmick is anytime they see something great on the camera, which includes, by the way, Vampiro looking off screen and being told, hey, you're on in a second, and then jumping back, they take those and they splice them in. And indeed, there was a spot here where Matt Stryker leaped to his feet like he could not control his own body. He was so excited by what he had seen that he leaped to his feet and began shaking uncontrollably and moving his fists and clapping his hands. It was so great.
So this is probably overstating. In fact, I'm sure this is overstating things.
No, this was the greatest match of all time.
Well, what I'm about to say. What I'm about to compare this to. I was not watching ECW in the mid-'90s, but one of the things that has become legendary from that period was when Rey Mysterio and Psychosis showed up at the ECW arena.
Oh, yeah.
And did things no one had ever seen before, including themselves, because they'd never been in an environment where, if you've ever heard Ray talk about that, he was begging Paul Heyman for specific instructions on what Heyman wanted, and Heyman said, do whatever you have to do to blow me away. And so they did. And that reminded me of this here. 3 guys with their chance to shine in a new audience, and they did whatever they had to blow us away. And boy, was I blown away. The biggest spot, of course, was Phoenix did a dive off a very high thing.
Honest to God, looked 20 feet in the air.
Stryker said 30. That was probably exaggerated, but 20 is a very safe guess. Although Vampiro, who was there in person, he said 453.
Which I think is the height of the Great Pyramid.
Okay, I guess that's where you got that number.
That's not how high he leaped from, by the way.
I say it again, he was there. He had a better angle than we did.
You know what? That's true.
I wasn't there. I'm judging this off the TV, which may have been, the TV camera was also high up. So it may have shrunken the distance. So anyway, Phoenix eventually pinned Pentagon with a reverse Rana. It hardly matters who won. Frankly, they all won. They all came off looking awesome. And then the last bit was Dario Cueto vowing he would not be intimidated by anyone.
There was a spot in that main event, and I guess to explain this better, I coached gymnastics for a long time, and I've seen a lot of flips. And after you've seen flips for a while, your brain is easily able to determine what you've just seen. Like I can watch the Olympics, and I can see someone do a double layout with 2 full twists, and I can see that in my brain. But you show it to somebody who does not watch a lot of gymnastics or did not watch a lot of gymnastics, and in their brain, this man did 9 flips before he landed on the ground. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I'm usually very good at being able to figure out what the hell just happened, but there was a spot in this match, and I have no idea what happened. Because there's no replays was part of it. But all I know is that I think it was Drago got thrown into the air.
Phoenix got thrown into the air.
Okay, Phoenix got thrown in the air, and like they started to do one move, and so my brain was getting ready to fill it in. Like when you're in the car and you can't hear what the song is on the radio because the volume's too low, but all of a sudden you hear like 2 bars, and then your brain fills the rest of it in, even though you can't really hear it. So my brain starts filling in what the rest of this move is going to be, and all of a sudden it was a Frankensteiner. And I was just like, I was completely blown away. I have no idea what happened right now. It was the most crazy thing that I've seen in years. What was it? You don't know either.
I think I know. I could be wrong. The closest I can guess is that I think it was Pentagon. It was definitely Phoenix was the guy in the air. But Pentagon threw him up like he was going to do a flapjack. Only Phoenix has decided, no, I'm going to flip over onto my back. So, okay, that's not a lot of guys do that, but that's not that big a deal. And then in midair, as he's flipping over onto his back, he wraps his legs around Pentagon's head and then turns it into a Rana.
That must have been what it was.
But no, I've never seen that before.
It was so awesome.
It was a move, and when it happened, what did I say?
I don't know.
It was something like, what was that?
I was in the middle of doing a flip in my chair.
Yes.
Trying to do it in midair so I could figure out what happened.
Yes, and that's my best what I can tell. And I've never seen it before. And it was beyond the giant dive, it was the real highlight of a match full of highlights.
Yeah. This match was so great, everybody. I love this show. This is my favorite show, I think. And we saw a lot of fun shows this week.
That's a completely reasonable opinion.
It was so great. I love this show. So if you're not watching Lucha Underground, like, stop watching whatever you're watching. If you're watching, like, Main Event, and actually we watched Tyson Kidd and Sami Zayn, which was also good, but stop watching that and at least watch one Lucha Underground, and then you can go back to whatever you were watching. What a great television show.